79th at Halas, what it is, what it do. Since Bobby Ingram, Curtis Ennis, know that we been loyal even when we wasn't winning. A trusted source for the news. 79th at Halas.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chicago Bears fans, we are back here live for 79th Halas. This is episode 210. It's your boy Scott. I am here back in Chicago, here with the homie JR Bain once again, because my brother, even though he is off the barber's chair of safety and protocols right now, he was at the game with me. I literally just got back from Soldier Field like minutes ago. So he was at the game. Post-game video will be coming soon. Either today or tomorrow. I'll be on the Patreon for our Patreon subscribers. You can go on the Twitter right now. We've got comments from Flus and Justin from the post game, and I've also uploaded a couple videos from the locker room with Chase Claypool. Eddie Jackson was pretty pissed. Darnell Mooney talked, Cairo Santos talked. So check all that stuff out, man. So you know to follow us on Twitter, man. You know to follow me on Twitter at Barberchair Scott, Twitter and Instagram. Follow JR Bang at JR Bang on Twitter and IG. Follow the Barberchair Network at Barberchair Net. Follow this great podcast at 79th and Halas, and that's with AND. Halas. And subscribe to Patreon, man. Patreon.com/Barberchair Network. You can get all our post-game videos. We might have some exclusive content for y'all these next 2 weeks since we're going to be on the road. Both me and Flows will be in Atlanta, Georgia this weekend. Bang, you was just there last week. You know, you had your epic story. If you want to hear it, you check out last week's summer session. I will be there this weekend, my first time in 10 years back in the A. And then I will be in New York next weekend for the Jets game. Pat Vito will be my cameraman, so he's going to be out there with me at MetLife. But Bang, man, what's your initial thoughts from watching at the crib and everything you're feeling after this game?
I don't like losing to Detroit. Like that's the biggest thing. I don't like losing to Detroit. Is the Detroit Lions. We should defeat the Detroit Lions. We had them beat. We was up 2 touchdowns. I think that defensively, we got to have a conversation. Like we really truly need to sit down and have a conversation. I was watching the game with my father, and when they started having penalties in the drive, that really started the comeback for the Lions, I said to myself, yeah, this is probably going to be a drive that puts them back in the game. And it just seems like, to me, the defense really starts to unravel and get out of focus from time to time. Now, let's be clear. Some of the penalties were not penalties. That hands to the face penalty was not hands to the face. But at the same time, you got to focus up, basically, and really, Eddie Jackson, as the captain of the defense, so to speak, has to get his defense to focus up, because this is now 4 weeks in a row where we've seen some good play from Justin and some pretty bad play from the defense.
Yeah.
And really, all they got to do is hold at this point. We're at this point where we have an offense and a quarterback that all you have to do is hold. They're not doing that. And Justin threw an interception and then come right back and got his lick back.
Yep.
And the defense still couldn't hold. So I don't know if it's the players. I don't know if it's Allen Williams. The middle of the field seems easy and open for everybody to get down with. I've seen Nicholas Morrow and Jack Sanborn cover slot receivers way too much for these last couple of weeks. At the same time, though, it don't help when we don't really upgrade our personnel and we're prepping for 2024.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, man. To me, it was a whole bunch of things that I took from this game. Before I give my actual thoughts on the game, I don't want to take like a victory lap or nothing because the team lost. But I want to say, I told y'all so. So, this is the thing that Bang has told me. Shout out my homie Shakia Taylor. She's told me that the more I personally get into this media game, the more this 79th and Halas and Barberchair Network as general grows. It's going to be a lot more idiots in the mentions, a lot more idiots in the comments. And
wow.
A couple days ago, I said that the Bears shouldn't take this team lightly. I said it's a high possibility of that the Bears could lose this football game. I said the Detroit Lions are a team that plays hard. You can say what you want to say about their record. Dan Campbell has his team ready to play each and every weekend. It's coming off a big home win over the Green Bay Packers. And they can lose this game. And boy, I was called every idiot in the book. I was called a killjoy. Somebody said I need to get your head out your ass. I was just everything. And I just want to tell y'all, I told you so. Like I told you so. Like shout out my man Was, shout out my man Big Was. He has a quote that I believe: life is about being right. And I was right. I told you that there's a high possibility this happened because yes, I know the Bears offense has been putting up numbers the last couple weeks, and it put up numbers today. But this defense has got awful. And it's the same thing with the Detroit Lions. I said this was going to be a high-scoring football game. Now, I did pick the Bears to win this. I thought they were going to win by 10, and it looked like they were going to. They were up 14.
They should have.
They should have. You know what I'm saying? They were up 14 in the end of the third quarter. So there was a lot of things that were troubling from this loss. And it's a thing about, and it's just really not just this fan base, it's football fans in general. You know, we just saw the pick that Josh Allen threw today, had two turnovers today. Now everybody's like, so we just gonna ignore these type of turnovers the last two games. This is the kind of stuff that happens when you have a franchise quarterback, especially a young franchise quarterback, the ups and the downs that come. Yeah, Justin threw a terrible pick six that was just not warranted. But what did he do? He went and got his lick back on the same dude who picked him off. So he went and got it back. But it's like the things that we see from this defense is it's just not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it whatsoever. And like you saying, Bang, it's a mix of things. It's a mix of the personnel with, you not having guys who are going to be on this team next year. Let's just keep it real. The secondary, like I think they maybe stopped the Lions on 2 third downs all afternoon. And
I don't mean to interrupt, but I do want to make sure we spotlight some positives.
Okay.
Jack Sanborn was an interception away from winning Defensive Player of the Week.
And right? That was a terrible flag.
Terrible flag. Like there are some spots where it's like, okay, but I want to be specific in my displeasure with Lee or Pose.
Okay, go ahead.
And here's
who was in the locker room after the game talking to Justin. I'm gonna give you my theory on that in a second.
Oh, I really would like to, because the Bears fan in me has a really glass half empty thought.
Okay.
To 45 minutes in the locker room.
Okay.
I don't want to think what I'm thinking. However, Jack Sanborn is an interception away from winning Defensive Player of the Week because he already has 2 sacks in the game, and then he gets that interception. He's in the running for Defensive Player of the Week. All right. Eddie, and Kyler, I think, had good games, right? Jalen Johnson was getting ate up in the middle of the field. That defensive line
might have been Jalen's worst game of his career.
It was. And that front seven is
non-existent.
Terrible. I've not seen a front seven this bad for the Chicago Bears in quite some time. This whole thing about us losing, the only thought that I had about us losing was, bright side, hey, man, we got a defensive tackle from Georgia that might fit in this defense. That would be great and would upgrade them as soon as he steps on the field. But what I think about is, damn, if looking at Justin and his progress, it feels like to me that if he put just a little bit of effort into upgrading this team, not saying that he had to spend a whole bunch of money, not saying that he had to go find somebody.
You're talking about Poles, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about Poles. I'm not saying that he would have to keep some of these people that we've traded away. But imagine this Justin with the defense that we had just last year. That's what I think Bears fans see. And I don't mind them for seeing that and saying that when you have a defense that have been so poor in these last couple of weeks, giving up 30-plus games, including a 49 or 50-point game against Dallas.
I have a counterpoint for that. Before I get that, I just want to give a shout out to the chat room like we always do. Shout out to Debbie. Debbie Harmon said, defense so trash. We have not won with conservative play call and we were up 6. I knew the Santos was going to be a problem. Yeah, I want to comment on that too. I had a problem with that. Billy ISO 7 says, defense put up some resistance. Defense put up the same resistance as Magic Johnson's white blood cells. Wow, okay. The real Jaleel, non-Scott talk your shit, man. You've been right on point. Yeah, look, you're right. I do. I be right. I be trying to tell you I'll be right. And it's okay that I be right. And it's, I try to tell y'all, my brother is nicer with y'all, but I'm not. And just you just gonna have to deal with it. My whole phrase for this week, if you watch this week's, I'm not gonna hold you, is double down. I'm doubling down on everything I say. But so here's my counterpoint to what you just said, man. While I feel you on the defense thing, a lot of the defense guys were old or couldn't stay healthy. I bet you don't even know that Akeem Hicks is in the league right now. That's how low of an impact he's had.
Because he's on the injury list, right? He's still on the injury list.
My point exactly. Yeah. Khalil Mack, he's had a couple bright things, but it's pretty much been a Khalil Mack, and that he's in the Khalil Mack that the Chargers have right now. It's pretty much Khalil Mack we've had the last 2-3 years. Like, it's not 2018. Like 2018, he was jumping off the page, and the Bears had so many holes and not enough draft capital because of that. Enemy of the state, which is Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. And if you watch anything from Justin Fields and Cole Kmet, you know that Matt Nagy should be on 24-hour lockdown just off what we've been seeing from them too and how he was using them last year. So there was so many. The Bears had no draft capital, so they had to build that up. So I get why that, why a lot of Bears was like we could have kept them, but you still need to get these draft picks back for next year. And to me, the thing where it was a multitude of things that lost this game. It was the defense. It was the officiating was just god awful.
Terrible.
Like, it was terrible. It was, and it was back to back. Remember last week there was bad plays, and we're gonna get the little 2-minute warning thing that we got last week. Oh, we missed this play, and that doesn't matter because there was a couple pass interference that were ridiculous. The thing that really that changed momentum to me, and I knew this was gonna happen. Remember when Jared Goff ran for like a first down and then like they slightly pushed him out of bounds and they called it
that changed
unnecessary roughness. That changed the entire game.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that one.
That changed the whole game. And it was a ticky-tack call. The Sanborn interception, ticky-tack call on Jalen Johnson. Having said that, you still got to go out there and win the game. You had a stop. I think they were like at their own 30, and Justin Jones brought down Jamal Williams. You had a nice third down, and you gave up like a 30-yard play. You can't do things. And I saw that when they brought in a linebacker. Look, they were going to blitz, and the only dude in the backfield was Eddie Jackson.
Yep.
And that's why the better Brown, St. Amon-Ra, was able to get all the way over there and get into the Bears territory. And the other thing too is you got to play towards that. But I'm glad that Debbie brought this up because on that last drive, and there was two things on the last couple drives, when they were up 6 after the Cairo Santos miss, way too conservative. And then on the last drive, which really just made me and my brother upset, you're moving Justin out the pocket the entire game. But now you want him to stay in the pocket for this drive? It made no sense. It made no sense. Change your philosophy last minute. And I think you've seen two things that, despite how good the offense is doing, is going to be a stain. Number one, Tevin Jenkins was not out there. That offensive line looked terrible without him. They've looked actually respectable the last 2 weeks because Tevin Jenkins has been playing well. With no Tevin Jenkins, every time that Justin would try to throw a pass, the pocket was collapsing. So that was a big issue. But on that last drive, no wide receivers were getting separation. And that goes back to one of the main problems with this team that, unfortunately, the Bears are just going to have to ride this out for the next 8 weeks. And those things aren't going to get solved right away.
Hey, you know what? I ain't mad about that. I mean, look, when I step back, I look and I say, hey, we got Green Bay and we got Detroit that holds the tiebreaker against us. We're 3-7. Detroit is 3-7, I think now, or 3-6. Green Bay looks like they're going to lose to Dallas. So I'm going to celebrate that loss right there, and then we're going to have the same record. That being said, we have gained draft position, and I look at people like if a Will Anderson or Carter from Georgia drops to a spot where the Bears could get them. That upgrades that defensive line tremendously. And that's
Yeah,
what we got to start looking at. And I agree with everything that you said about Khalil and Robert and Roquan getting traded and we need in the draft capital. As I was just saying, is basically when you see that and you see things given away with now your quarterback having historic games, damn, you wish you just had somebody that was better than what you have
yeah,
right now. And even if you trade those people, you went and got cast offs, and now fans see Justin Fields doing all of these things with a defense that's pretty much led by now Eddie Johnson and a whole bunch of cast offs, which means now you've switched things on the offensive side, but now you're looking at the defensive side crazy.
yeah. And Eddie, Eddie, I think, it's two things that stood out from Eddie to me that, Eddie was here when Mitchell Trubisky was here. So he knows what it's like to be a dominant defense. Your offense can't get it
Yep.
going. So on Wednesday, he said something that was very important to me. He was like, well, he said the offense is doing their job. Justin's killing it. And we need to go out there and do our job. And so he knows that, okay, the shoe is on the other foot now. And then after the game, when, we spoke to him in the locker room, he was very adamant. He said, look, we can't keep doing. He said, he's really said the same. Remember, just said he was tired of losing despite the
Yeah.
progress. Eddie's like, yo, I'm tired of the same thing happening. He said, look, we had a great week of practice. Everything went well. We had them down 24-10. We had them right where we want them, and we just can't close. I'm tired of all this. He said, Justin's out there. Justin's balling, and we can't keep leaving them out there. We have to go out there and do our part. And he said, really, even me saying this right now isn't going to change anything. So he was pretty upset. And as the pretty much the leader of the defense now that Khalil's gone, now that Quinn's gone, now that Roquan's gone, this is Eddie's defense. He is the longest tenured Bear right now on the
Yeah.
team.
No, go ahead.
It's on the team. He's been here since 2017. So he's been here since Mike Glennon. So he's been here since John Fox. That's how long that
Right.
Eddie Jackson. I think Eddie Jackson is going to be a Bears lifer. Now, I said Poles, your boy Leo Poles was in the locker room. Now, here is my theory. Me and my brother were laughing about this as we were leaving the stadium.
Let's go.
My theory is this, that Justin was telling him, yo, some of these niggas got to go.
Yeah.
Some of these niggas got to go. Because they had a little conversation in the locker room, and all I saw was Pose nod and walk off.
No,
yeah,
I'm with you, and I go a little bit harder and say some of these niggas gotta go, or when it's time for me to go, I'm going.
yeah.
Like, I don't want to scare Bears fans. I don't want to scare Bears fans, but I'm gonna scare you today. Here's why I'm gonna scare you. Because if we listen to the national media, you're just gonna take this perspective. Listen to the national media. This team spent weeks trying to see if Justin Fields is the one. He's proven that he's the one. Now Justin has to look at that front office this summer for them to prove to him that you're going to do what's necessary to put the things around me to show you how good I can be. Again, Bears and historic performers at the quarterback position has never been said. Those words have never been said in our lifetime and in your parents' lifetime. Maybe your great grandparents' lifetime, because the last time we heard that shit was in the 40s with Sid Luckman. But now I believe the Bears put themselves in a nasty position. Why? Because you just spent weeks trying to see if dude is on point. Now dude is killing. Now he gonna hold your ass to the fire and make sure that you get everything that he needs to make himself successful. And this is why I continue to say that this is the most important offseason in Chicago Bears history. This is why I don't care about any loss right now. I don't care about none of that shit. All I care about is 130 million and all those draft picks. Because if we fail, we are in the ghetto for a long time to come. But if we hit, we are in the pit house for a long time to come, because we clearly have somebody who can be a top 5 quarterback. And Poles can't waste this shit.
I'm gonna agree and I'm gonna disagree. I think you give some good points. You're the second person who told me about the potential of Justin. I won't say leaving because one in the NFL you don't really see franchise quarterbacks leave. Like when they do is later in their career. And when they fall off, majority of the time. Like I really can't think of a quarterback who left the team that was on in their prime. I can't think of who didn't have any allegations like
That
Deshaun
boy ain't
Watson.
in his prime yet.
That's my
That's
point.
the crazy thing.
This is
He ain't
this
even
is
in his
the
prime yet.
this is why I agree and I agree. I 100% agree. This is the most important Bears offseason in team history by far. This is kind of the same thing that happened in 2018, where Mitch showed enough to where they're thinking if we can surround him with pieces, that maybe he'll grow. Now, obviously, Justin has shown us way more in just these last 5 weeks than Mitch showed us in 4 years, by far. But I think, and I gotta give Pace a little credit for this. He went out there and got Khalil Mack. He went out there and got Allen Robinson. He went out there and got Trey Burton, Taylor Gabriel. Remember, he built pieces, and the Bears went 12-4, one division. Should have went to at least the NFC divisional round. And I said that week, and I'm saying this time, that game was not Mr. Trubisky's fault. Mr. Trubisky
No,
won that game. He got him in position to win the game. That I blame that game on Santos and Matt Nagy. Remember, Matt Nagy forgot,
not Santos.
not
Not
Santos,
Santos.
Parkey.
Parky.
Matt Nagy,
Parquet.
Parquet. Matt Nagy forgot that he had Allen Robinson until late in the third quarter. So with this, it's the same thing, but I feel like they do have to like make a big improvement. But the reason I won't say they'll be in the ghetto is because look at the NFC North, man. Like
Bruh.
Aaron's not gonna be here. I'm not worried about Detroit to Detroit. Minnesota, I'm just not worried about going head to head with Kirk Cousins. So I don't know if they'll be in the ghetto, but they definitely have to execute this season. They have to hit. But I'm not necessarily worried about Justin putting any because it's the NFL.
Nah, nah,
They can tag
nah.
him 3 times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And here's the thing. Just because you say I want to go, that don't mean they gotta let you go.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't need that. You don't
Pressure.
need that pressure. You don't need that vibe inside of Halas Hall. The second part of what you said is I agree with you. I'm not saying nothing you said was wrong, but I do look at teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars. I do look at teams like the Baltimore Ravens, who, while they compete every year, they let you down every year as well.
So here's a question for you: if you were, let's just put yourself in a Baltimore Raven fan shoe real
Yeah.
quick.
Oh
If
yeah,
you're a
I
Baltimore
know a
Raven,
couple.
are you nervous about Lamar Jackson leaving?
I am. Let's just say I'm not necessarily nervous about Lamar Jackson leaving because of franchise modes. Boom, we go ahead and keep you. You 2 years, you straight.
Yeah.
What I'm scared of is the pieces you put around him to make him successful. Like you look at Lamar Jackson, and while it is hard for a top flight wide receiver to go to Baltimore because of the offense they run, you also look and say, damn, and you said this. So I'll give you credit with yelling at me about Lamar Jackson, when we had the debate on Summer Sessions. You got to look at him and say, hey man, we need you to be better than what you are right now.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot because
He's
you
great.
good.
Yeah.
However, we need you to be a top 10 quarterback, not a top 10 athlete.
Bro, that's all
And
I've been saying.
we need Greg Roman and John Harbaugh on the team to give us an offense that's suitable for your skills and the skills of a top flight wide receiver. Because we can't count on Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely to be your top
And,
wide receivers, basically.
and that's Bill. That was my problem. And I know this is gonna sound like we're talking about the Ravens, but this kind of has the same point to me
Yeah, it's
because
the same point with
it's
the
the same
Bears.
point because like Justin is a great athlete too, but the difference is Justin to me, Justin's better throw the
Yes,
football
he is.
than
Yes, he
Lamar
is.
Jackson. I don't even think it's close. Like if you're for me observing for people who think I hate Lamar Jackson, which I don't. I'm a Lamar Jackson fan. I'm just telling you what I see. I don't think he makes the throws consistently enough, but it's also on the front office. First of all, Greg Roman gets with a murder. And the problem I had with the Roquan Smith trade from their perspective is they should have been the ones trying to get a wide receiver. You don't need any more defense. You need a wide receiver for this man. Like, and the fact they've been able to do this with the caliber of guys he has around him says a lot. But at the same time, you need more from Lamar. So it's like, yeah, from a Bears perspective, they have to knock it out the park.
Yeah,
And
because
I can't sit up here and say, Will, we don't know yet. But I'm with you. You don't want to put that pressure, but I feel like that's also the nature of the NFL right
yeah,
now.
because
And
you
that's
don't.
because of the Deshaun Watson deal messed up the market.
And I'm glad that you said that. You don't want to be the Texans with Deshaun Watson, with massages or not. Because you could say that Deshaun Watson didn't have a lot around him either when he was with, like, before he started, the allegation started.
Yeah.
You don't want to be Kyler Murray with the Arizona Cardinals.
Overpaid.
Overpaid. Like, you don't want to put yourself in a position when it's time to pay him to handcuff the team when the team hasn't improved in areas that they should improve when you have the money and the draft picks that you have.
Yeah.
So while you have a top flight quarterback, and for Bears fans, this is something that we've never seen in our lifetime, you also don't want to see a top flight quarterback
Leave.
and then, no, not even leave. You don't want to see him and then he's 10 and like what 11 and 6 one year
Yeah.
and then 6 and 11 the next year because of the pieces that you have around them. You don't want to have a quarterback that you don't want to have a team that catches lightning in a bottle and then they're all of a sudden back to the cellar because of who they have on their team. So you don't want to basically, you can't waste this talent. And for a Bears franchise who's been starving for a quarterback our entire lives, you're 35, I'm 40. We ain't never seen this before. This is nothing we've never came across. We've set all of our lives and we had to deal with Mike Tomczak, Jim Harbaugh, who was decent, but then give you quarterbacks like Shane Matthews, Will Fuhrer, Peter Tom Willis, Steve Stenstrom, Rex Grossman, Jim Miller, Kyle Orton, Caleb Haney, Jay Cutler, all of these people, and some of the people that I named that was the streak that was talented, extremely talented. You can't waste this right here. Because tomorrow, when we turn on ESPN, we turn on Get Up, they're going to be talking about, oh man, the Bears lost. But shit, look at this talent that they got in Justin Fields.
That
You can't
pick six,
waste that.
nobody will be talking about that tomorrow.
No, nobody's going to be talking. Or they're going to say, oh,
Look
he
how he
messed up.
responded from the pick six.
But look how he responded by breaking his record. Like,
now I'm gonna piggyback off what you're saying. This is what the media angle is gonna be now because Justin Fields is becoming a media darling, and the people start to love him. So now it's going to go from this is the next conversation. Are the Bears doing enough to make Justin Fields better? That's the next part of this is the level of progress with a franchise quarterback. And you saw this with Tom Brady. Are they doing enough to help Tom Brady? It's going to be like that. So there's tremendous amount of pressure on Ryan Pace this year. Not Ryan Pace, Ryan Poles this year. Leor Poles.
You got to sign a whole bunch of 360 deals, G.
A whole bunch of 360 deals. You got to spend the money and spend it correctly. 100%, man. And I was when we was talking, I was a couple fans saying, well, Justin didn't show confidence on that last drive. I was like, dude, there's nobody open. And then somebody, well, you got to throw it to somebody open. Did you? I'm like, first of all, I got to stop arguing with people who got like 2 followers. So,
you do. You do.
I gotta stop doing that. But I got a couple more questions
you are,
now.
You are at 500 Twitter followers or less level.
You are argue correct.
With.
You are correct.
If they got $4.99 or less, Scott, don't talk to them.
Or they are followed by nobody who follows us.
Yes, or they have eagles in their photo.
or Smokey the Bear and stuff like that. Yeah. But so here's a question, because I was talking about this in the press box when we was watching the game. Are you concerned 2 games in about how they're using Chase Claypool? Because last week it was 2 catches, 13 yards, but they attempted. I think he had like 5 targets, but he dropped like a couple of them. This week he only had 2 attempts. One, Justin almost threw a pick. The second one was off a screen pass. And he said, he told us that, he's not worried about it. He feels like his knowledge of the offense getting better. He said this week he feels he was an 8 out of 10. He said next week it'll be a 10 out of 10. And he said there's no need to force the chemistry between him and Justin. I believe that they should at least thrown it to him more. And
Yeah.
I personally had an issue with the way they used him this week. Last week was fine, but I expect, especially with you not activating N'Keal Harry, and we'll get to that. I want your opinion on that in a minute. Because I asked Luce a question, he kind of like, I want to say he kind of looked at me like, nigga, like, why they didn't play. But I thought with sitting N'Keal Harry that we are going to get a lot more Chase Claypool, and I personally had an issue with how they used them today. What's your opinion on that?
I was under the thought of game 3 of him in the Bears uniform. That's when business is going to pick up. When Harry was a healthy scratch, I said to myself, okay, business is going to pick up. But I still had a little bit of doubt. That's why in my parlay this week, I took him like catching over 20 yards passing. Not many, but I was still like, I don't think this is the game. So I still give him 3. But at the same time, it's still like his usage hasn't kicked up.
Yeah.
Even a tad bit. So I look at the offense and sometimes I think to myself, they think too much.
100%.
I think
100%.
Getsy and company thinks too much.
But Getsy's also a rookie play call too. That's why I've been telling people all year.
Yeah.
I think the leeway that we give Justin, we gotta do the same thing with Getsy.
Yeah, and I think sometimes Getsy thinks too much because it was my father, and I have to credit my father who sometimes say some outlandish shit. But my father was like, man, sometimes you just got to throw a nigga a jump ball. I was like,
I agree with your father though. Sometimes that's what I was saying in the booth.
like if he's 6'4", 230,
throw it up.
Sometimes you just got to throw it up and see what happens.
You got to do the Matthew Stafford, Cooper Cup down there somewhere.
Hit him with a Taylor Heineke. Just throw that ball up, close your eyes, throw it up, and see what happens.
Like Scary Terry down there somewhere.
Right, and if Chase Claypool is 6'4", 240, runs a 440, can jump, sometimes you just got to be like, yo, straight line, I got you. And that's when I think sometimes they think too much. And that hinders players like Chase Claypool. So I kind of look at Chase Claypool the same way that they did Justin. And I look at game 3 in Atlanta to be the breakout game. But I do have questions like, because I'm not around Halas Hall or anything like that. It was interesting to see Harry being a healthy scratch along with Velvis Jones. And I look at that and I say, man, and I even said last week, if we got 2 able big bodies with Mooney in the slot, this is a great day. And now you have Cole Kmet, who is now really showing the promise that a lot of people was predicting at the beginning of the season. It helps out a lot. So why the hell he ain't play?
Now I'm trying to find a quote. I asked Flus today about Velas. And one thing I love about Flus, man, he gets straight to the point, man.
He does. Yeah.
So hold on, I'm trying to look for it right here. All right, so I asked, what went to the decision of having Velus Jones and N'Keal Harry being a healthy scratch, and he said we thought it was the best 5 receivers for us, and then we're just going off the best 5 receivers and who we saw in practice, and he looked at me like them niggas stink, pretty much. But pretty much what I got from that answer is that they're not having good practices. And especially Velus. And I don't know if you saw what he said about Velus earlier this week, basically saying he got to see a lot more from Velus. And when we're talking about what Poles needs to execute, that's a mark on Poles' resume because Velus is a 3rd rounder. You need much more from him. Now, not that anybody had high expectations for this man, because I didn't even know who he was when the Bears drafted him. But the fact that he can't even get on the field as a healthy scratch is a little concerning to me. And I feel like the N'Keal Harry thing, 2 things I thought personally before the game was, okay, we're going to get more of a heavy Chase Claypool load, and Byron Pringle just came off IR, and Byron Pringle was faster than N'Keal Harry. That's the only thing I took from it before the game.
Okay. Yeah, it's still confusing.
Yeah.
Like, I think you need all the bodies you could get, and you either need separation or somebody who could get a jump ball. So again, as my father, Lee A. Davis Sr., has said, sometimes you got to throw a nigga jump off. And
Sometimes
that's not happening at all. It's
yeah.
like that's not happening at all. But at the same time, we see some improvements on the offensive side of the ball. So, maybe it is hey man, you got to put the work in and see what happens. Maybe Harry is looking at Chase Claypool and saying, well, that was supposed to be me, and didn't show up. I don't know, but I'm looking at Justin. I'm saying Justin still needs all of the weapons that he could get. So, and if that weapon is a revolver, you know what I'm saying, and Justin wants a 9mm, then let's figure it out. And I probably shouldn't use a gun reference considering what's happened to my family in the last couple. But at the same time, I mean, it is true. Like, fam, why are we still dealing with stuff like this, man? If Velvis Jones is not great in the passing game, utilize him
Return
the
the kicks
same
or
way.
something.
Like return. Well, nah, I don't want his ass back there either.
Yeah, because he
He
keep
muffed a
fumbling. I
couple.
forgot about that. Yeah.
Right. But drop one of those screens, man. No, we give him the same shit you giving Chase Claypool running the ball out the backfield. Use him like Debo a little bit sometimes. If he's that fast, man, give him the ball coming out the backfield too. Hit him around, hit them, them tosses and see what
But I
happens.
really think he's doing
Utilize your
something in
weapons.
practice. I think he's
Oh,
doing something in practice. Like,
or he's not doing something in
yeah, that's what I
practice.
mean. Like, he's not. He's got to be showing some flags. And I'll be back in Halas this week, so I'll be interested to see, what's that looking like, man. But one positive note, as we get ready to close this episode, I want to talk about Cole Kmet, man. I
Yeah.
called this man sorry the day we drafted him.
You did.
The day that I was like, this dude is sorry, and it's like the last 3 weeks. It's like since. And by the way, I thought he's played good all year. This isn't just a month. I thought he's been good all year, especially been good blocking too. But he went from having his first touchdown in 2 years in Dallas, to now this man got like 5 touchdowns in the last 3 games, and he's becoming one of Justin's favorite targets. He's become one of Justin's favorite targets, and he's actually looking like a high draft pick. And Justin brought it up in his post game. He said, "Yeah, he's just getting beat better every week, and our chemistry is starting to really get together." What do you think about from what you've seen from Cole Kmet?
Hey man, shouts out to my man Sean Davis, who does a lot of Notre Dame work.
Shout out to SD, two mics on
Yeah,
Twitter.
SD2 Mics on Twitter. How many times we seen a terrible Notre Dame tight end? Like, we rarely see. Tight end university is Iowa and Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So I knew something was there, and I thought Mitch would be his blanket, but Justin is using him as his blanket. And I don't like, people was talking about, Kelsey, throwing comparisons like Kelsey and Kittle and all of those things. No, I don't want to do
They
that.
just big. Them only 3 they got in common.
Right, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, man, he is somebody that if you need 10, he's gonna get you 10. And you see him running harder, and you see him going after it. Like, um the the touchdown that he caught, the touchdowns that he has caught. But it was one play where he just got a first down today off of his sheer hard work, putting his shoulders down and blowing through the tackle. You have that. And even as I said a couple of weeks ago, once you got Claypool, or if you get anybody, it opens it up for 2 people, and it opens it up for Mooney, and it opens it up for Kmet. So I think we're going to see a bit more from him. I'm excited to see the future between him and Justin.
Yeah.
And as soon as we either get Chase Claypool to be a good number 2 to whoever is our number 1, or if we just get some improvements at the X position in general with the wide receiver position, it's going to be interesting to see how this offense look, because you have the threat of Justin running. So play action is always going to be an option for you. We get somebody that can scare you on that X, it's just going to open it up for somebody in the slot or a tight end position. And I don't think we're going to see a wide receiver on the Bears get 80, 90 catches for 1,500 yards. We're not going to see a Tyreek Hill or
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle. I don't even think we're going to see a a Bengals type of situation. But what I do believe is that you're gonna get people that you need to get people that scares cornerbacks enough where they have to think long and hard when Justin get out there. And that's already gonna make a linebacker scared when he has to go guard somebody like Komet. Because when that happens, Justin, his eyes is gonna open up bigger. And
Yeah.
I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but I think we do have a top 5 quarterback on our hands. I think when it's all said and done, Justin is going to be a top 5 quarterback for the majority of his career with the Bears. It's just with the options that you give him. And you already have two in Mooney and Komet. And Komet is going to be the person that gives you the
Hey,
touchdowns.
three,
He's going to be
three,
your
three with
touchdown guy.
Claypool, man. Three with
I mean,
Claypool. Yeah. You're gonna reserve judgment with Claypool.
I'm gonna reserve
So you have
judgment.
more faith in Mooney than Chase Claypool right now.
No, I only have more faith in Mooney because at the end of the day, you're going to respect Chase Claypool. Chase Claypool now has to show why you need to respect him.
Respect him. Okay, that's fair. That's
Because
fair.
Mooney is going to benefit. Mooney and Komet is going to benefit by having a talented wide receiver. But now he has to bring that talent out, and I think Atlanta is the game that is going to happen.
This is a thing too, and I think Cole Kmet is very important in the thing you just said because think about Justin. I've learned about Justin from being around him. He's a guy where like he really clicks up with people who he likes on a personal level. And I'm not saying he don't like Chase Claypool, but I don't think they have enough time. They have to build chemistry because Darnell Mooney is at Justin's house all the time. You know, Cole Kmet is with Justin all the time. You know, me and my brother, we found a clip from last year's Monday Night Football game in Pittsburgh that we went to. Remember that drive? It looked like the Bears were going to win.
Yeah.
And Cole Kmet, they lost, and Cole was walking off. He said, "Judge, like, yo, we almost got it, man. We just got to keep building." So he has these relationships with these two, and I think Cole Kmet will be important because Chase Claypool is his college teammate, so he can bring him into the fold. That's something I think they'll get more bonding during OTAs and training camp when they have more time to build that camaraderie. But one thing I did peep from when we talked to Chase, there, I didn't peep any frustration. I didn't peep any type of anger. He was just like, "Oh, I'm still learning." And he just said what you said. Like Atlanta, you think Atlanta's going to be the game. And this Atlanta game is going to be important to me for a couple reasons. One, the Falcons, they just came off a ridiculous loss to the Panthers. Like they should be ashamed of themselves for that loss. This is going to be a Bears home game. Let's be very clear about this. You used to live in Atlanta. You know how many Chicago folks is in Atlanta. Not only how many Chicago folks in Atlanta, how many Chicago folks are taking the trip. Justin Fields is from Kennesaw, Georgia. That is 35 minutes outside of Atlanta. This is a home game for him. How many family members? And I think that's going to be a big part of this week. That I plan on asking Justin on Wednesday is, how it's going to be. It's pretty much a homecoming game for him. I'm not worried. The offense, I feel is going to have a great game. I'm worried about what this defense is going to do with Cordell Patterson, with Drake London, and with Kyle Pitts. That's what I'm worried about.
Yes.
So the defense eventually, I know there's only so much they can do, but eventually they got to stand up. What's that video? Oh, Shorty, stand up. That's what they got to do. Stand up.
This game right here, I think is and I don't want to use these terms, but I have to because I think this is so important for the Bears going forward. This is probably one of the most important games defensively for the Bears in quite some time because even when the Bears sucked, our defense was respectable.
Outside of 2013. And I think this defense is worse than Mel Tucker's. I don't think Mel Tucker's scheme was bad. He had a whole bunch of aging players.
Right. And that's why I kind of don't count that year. But you still had names. So you had to, at the end of the day, At the end of the day, you had to respect those players. You still probably whoop their ass, but hey man, you my man. I respect you. I think we are reaching a point that nobody respects this Bears defense.
And you saw that fourth down.
Yeah,
that team's going on fourth down on these dudes. They do not care.
Yeah, there's no respect there for this defense at all. Now you go into Atlanta, who has weapons, and let's not forget. I don't know if you did mention Cordell Patterson, but they have other running backs
Yep.
that are decent. So
Yep.
they can do the same shit that the Bears can do to you with a better defense. Because they do have, I mean, they might not be, stopping people at some type of clip, but I'd rather have Atlanta's defense right now than the Bears, who's
Oh,
being leaky
100%.
right now.
100%.
And if Eddie Jackson is that pissed off, and I believe that he is, all this week he has to
He's
light
gonna
a
drill it into him.
fire.
Yeah.
He has
Yeah.
to drill it into him. He also has to drill into playing mistake-free football. Not just what you do against a player, but what you do when it comes to penalties. Because it should be nowhere in hell that the Bears should have been
Oh,
penalized
bro, I'm
as
glad
many
because
times as
the
they have.
hits principle is like you can't play. You got to play clean
You
football.
gotta
A
play
lot of
clean
there
football.
was at least 4 drives that were killed with those penalties. And I like what you said about Eddie Jackson because I really feel like Eddie and Justin are in sync. I'm gonna give y'all more exclusive. Eddie and Justin had a little combo. They had a little combo when Eddie was getting ready to leave. They had a little combo. These two were in sync. And it wasn't one of those things where Justin was mad and nobody was talking to him. There was multiple guys coming up to Justin. So Justin is the clear leader of this team. I think there's not a doubt that even a guy like Eddie, as tenured as Eddie is, he's been in the league 4 years longer than Justin. He knows what time it is. But they had a conversation that's basically like, yo, we got to make sure this team is ready for this week. And I feel like it's a reason where Justin's upset because he knows he's getting better, but he's not used to losing. When he went like 2 years at Ohio State and didn't lose a game, like he's not used to this type of stuff. So it has to go from, yes, Justin the offense is showing progression. You still got to build a winning culture.
Yep.
You still got to win these games. Now, I did like what Flu said in post game. Said, "Yeah, we losing, but we learning how to deal with adversity." And by the way, I have no problems with Flus. By the way, I think Flus is doing a really good job.
Yes, he is.
Considering the amount of talent that he has. But now it's getting to the point where a game like today, despite draft positioning, and I know in April we're not gonna care about this because we're gonna have a higher draft pick. But as of right now, you can't lose games like this. And next week is another game. You need to beat Atlanta. The week after, the Jets game don't look like a gimme like we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, because
The
that
Jets,
defense.
that defense is it. Sauce Gardner, if we think the wide receivers having trouble getting open right now, look at his numbers against the elite this year. Yeah, there's been nobody scoring on him. So you got them. They got a really good running game. Now, Zach Wilson can't be had, but with the amount of pressure that this defense gives, Zach Wilson going to have all day in the pocket to throw the ball.
Yeah.
This is a team that is now officially the AFC East is now up for grabs with the Bills lost today. The Dolphins won, they're in first place. The Jets beat the Bills last week, so they're in second. The Bills are in third place now. So now the Jets are not only playing for the playoff spot, they're playing for the AFC East.
Yep.
So I'm not expecting next week to be an easy game whatsoever. You don't want to go into this and you done lost 8 out of 9. You know what I'm saying? That will take a toll on you. You need to start winning these games. I don't really care about the things about the draft positioning because it's about building the culture. And I feel like they got to win next week. You got to win in Atlanta next week, in my opinion.
And being that, Justin is from there,
Yeah,
I know I'm going to get calls all week from people that I work with that's like, yo, hey, man, this is going to be important for that kid. I expect another big game from Justin in that stadium in his hometown. It is up to the Bears defense to prove that they can hold it down, so to speak.
yeah.
And if they don't, I don't think Eddie wants to have another conversation with Justin.
Yeah.
After this game.
Because like somebody said in there, Justin told Pose execute order 66. He will get Palpatine on y'all.
Yeah, he will.
Let's be very clear who runs this ship now. Okay.
No,
like,
but
what T'Challa tell Buddy in Black Panther? I am your king now.
Yeah. but nah, man, Jack Sanborn, hey, he looks
good, man.
He looks good. Like I gotta give him his respect. He looks good.
He looks good. I don't know if he's a starter.
I don't know.
He's a good depth piece.
He's a good depth piece, and the thing is, it was a couple of plays, not even the sacks, but it was a couple of plays that I was like, yo, he gets some reps in. He can be a consistent starter. That's how I put it. I wouldn't necessarily call him a star, but he could definitely be one of those people who is a consistent starter for you. You got him, you got Gordon, you got Brisker,
I really
you
like
got
what Justin
Eddie.
Jones has done this year.
I do like.
I like what I've seen from Justin
We
Jones.
need another
Another piece.
Carter.
Yeah, Carter. I like
Georgia.
Carter from Georgia.
Carter for Georgia.
Like, I was against them going defense number one, but I'm not anymore.
I'm not anymore.
I'm not whatsoever angry about that.
We just need we gonna be okay. But yeah, it's definitely about to be show and prove time for the rest of the year with only 3 games. One, and when you look at it, we've been in every game we've played.
And that's what Darnell Mooney said. Darnell Mooney said outside of the Green Bay game, he felt like they could have won every game. And so that's like a positive thing, but you got to learn how to close. That's the one thing that this team has got to learn. And 2 things before we wrap up. One, I wanted to say that one thing about this team that, you know, that I'm seeing is you know, it's starting to be a little bit of camaraderie, at least with the offense. We're starting to see that come around, but it's really just about, you know, figuring out who's going to be here and who's not going to be here long term. That's what's going to come down to. And it's just like this. I'm gonna compare this Justin Fields thing to like when you get a girlfriend, right? You get a girlfriend, you originally bag her, everything's good. But what do women always say? You got to keep them. You know what I'm saying? Just because you get it don't mean you stop taking out on dates. So Ryan Cole,
Dallas,
they lost.
God damn it,
Dallas lost.
Oh, they're about to.
You can't count on Dallas. I had a feeling that was going to happen. I had a feeling that was going to. Were they up big or no?
It was up enough, fam.
Dallas Cowboys, can't count on them for nothing. But yeah, and so also, you know, you got to spend money on your girl now. That's really what this comes down to. You gotta keep her. You gotta keep her happy, and then that's what you got to do this offseason, man. So that's pretty much all we got. If there was anything you wanted to say before we get up out of here, man.
Hey, man, and enjoy this. I just want to say this to Bears fans. When I know you're upset that we lost the game that we should have won and all of this, but the one thing that I would say right now is enjoy what you're seeing from Justin Fields and just get ready for next year. I think next year we have potential. And I just want us to enjoy things more and stop complaining or just make it less and understand the future is very bright out here in Chicago.
And the national media is starting to notice. Rich Eisen said himself. Yeah. He said, name an up and coming team that you'd rather be more than Chicago. With a franchise quarterback, $130 million in cap space and 9 draft picks. Even Chris Long, Howie Long was like, I'm rooting for them. Like, so now it's time to perform, people. So I'm with you, man. Bears fans, we're a special bunch. But you know, I try to tell y'all. That's all I'm gonna say. But y'all know to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Barberchair Scott, at JR Bang. Follow us while you can before Elon burns the ship. Follow Barberchair Net on Twitter and IG. Subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/Barberchair Network, man. We'll be back. We'll be in the A this week, man. We're going to try to get y'all a preview pod this week. Me and Pierce did one this past week, so check it out. Yeah, man. So a lot of traveling going on next couple weeks, man. So, you know, get in tune with us. We'll holler at y'all next week. We out.
7 night for Halas, what it is, what it do. Since Bobby Ingram, Curtis Edison, know that we been loyal even when we wasn't winning.